Welcome to the Super Over. I'm Jarrod Kimber. I've got Monty Panesar with me. And where do you rate this, Monty, in the world of cricket upsets that you have ever seen?
Well, this is one of the biggest shockwaves in world cricket. I think no one expected this to happen,
And if they did, I don't want to meet that person.
yeah, exactly. And no one thought at the start of this, when New Zealand arrived in India, especially the way they, lost against Sri Lanka, that New Zealand were able to, find a way of or a method of beating India in India. So, and especially, how dominant India have been over the last sort of. Decade really.
18 series.
Yeah, 18 series over 4,331 days, and this is completely shocked the whole of world cricket.
Mitch Santner, you're a left-arm finger spinner. You're tall. You've seen a lot of him bowl. He had a first-class average. I mean, people will say he had a test average of 42. He had a first-class bowling average of 42. He went to Sri Lanka, could not buy a wicket. To go from that to this is just mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's transformational just to see how he's able to quickly learn and adapt. And I think he's probably more suited to Indian conditions because he's got so much experience, playing in the IPL. And one thing also with the SG ball, the SG, the seam gets a lot harder. It's a bit more hand-stitched. So I think as spinners, you're in the game for a lot longer now in India. But for Mitchell Santner, you kind of think to yourself at the start of the series, I'm Virat Kohli, I'll be thinking, I won't expect Mitchell Santner to really bowl us out because he hasn't, he's not known for that in red ball cricket. The guy we'll be looking out for is Ajaz Patel,
who barely got a wicket.
Yeah, who couldn't get a wicket. So the opposite end of the spectrum. So for him to come here and actually more possibly think like a batsman, I think he's thinking like a batsman when he bowls, and you can see that the way he's getting the batters out in various dismissals. But the real thing was the courage to bowl slower. Because I know I've played in India and you tend to bowl with pace on the ball. Often you say you got to bowl at 90, 95 kilometres to stay in the game. But he bowled it slower. And to have the accuracy, I think that was really impressive.
Tom Latham, it's funny, we haven't talked much about him in this series, but he wasn't supposed to be captain. I mean, Mitch Santner wasn't supposed to be their spinner and Tom Latham wasn't supposed to be their captain. They started off with a different captain. Tom Latham just sort of lumped in and said, Tim Southey said, look, I'm finished. You're going to have to take over. Rohit Sharma, Indian fans are throwing Rohit Sharma's captaincy under the bus. And that's a different conversation for another day. But Tom Latham made a lot of good decisions in this series, didn't he?
Yeah, a lot of good decisions, I think, is reflected on the ways he's been batting. He led from the front in that second innings. That innings was absolutely crucial to really set the tone for the rest of the New Zealand batters. If your captain is tough, is grinding it out, is actually showing the opposite, the Indian batsman how to bat on this pitch rather than give your wicket away, that shows, his mind is organised. He's determined to make a difference. And you can see 30% of his shots were the reverse sweep. And then sort of, I think 15% was the flick. So he had a couple of his shots he relied on, and he trusted his game plan. Indian spinners did not have an answer to the reverse sweep. Let's be honest about it. They did not know how to bowl to Tom Latham. And then Tom Latham was just so tough and grinding it out that it shows that if our captain's doing it, we've got to do it as well. And I think that's where the New Zealand team just got stronger and stronger. Well, on the other side, we look at India, how in the first innings, Rohit Sharma got out coming down the wicket on balls which were seaming, got bowled, and then again he got bowled here, when William O'Rourke, got him out with an absolute jaffa. That again then shows that when India are in a hole, what they look to do is hit out. And when they hit out, I think New Zealand knew exactly how they're going to play, and that they fell for the trap, and New Zealand were there to take the wickets.
On paper, this Indian batting lineup looks incredible. You've got Rohit Sharma opening the batting with Jaiswal, who in 5 years' time might be the best batter in the world. He's on his way there already. You've got Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill, Rishabh Pant, and then you've got the all-rounders all the way down to number 9. But their batting, for a long period of time, Monty, has not worked at home. We know some of the reason is that they've made their bowlers, their pitches bowler-friendly. We get that. But even so, their batting has not been good for a very long period of time now. And in this series, that was really exposed.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree with you. Since 2020, I think average per wicket for an Indian wicket is 32. It's gone down compared to 2015 to 2019 when average per wicket was 48. Maybe the Pujara effect was there. They had a batsman who could bat for a long period of time. And I think one of the reasons being is because this Indian batting lineup, they are taking a lot more risks. And that comes down from the captain as well. We see Rohit Sharma play some unbelievable innings, and they all do that. They all come in and play high-risk cricket. And I think this time around they've been caught out. And I think the catching has been superb from New Zealand. Half chances were taken.
Literally caught out.
Yeah, literally, yeah, I'll say caught out. But also, I think India gave wickets away as well. They need to put a price on their wicket. They've got to say, I'm playing for India. This is not IPL cricket. I'm playing for India, my country. I'm representing my country. I'm not going to give my wicket away.
That first innings, they gave away about 3, didn't they? And you look back on the game and it's like, that is such a huge part in the result here. Ashwin and Jadeja, we know they're great. They're go-to, they're minted. There's absolutely no issue there. This is the first time since you bowled, and that was like a million years ago, that they have been out-bowled in Asia by spinners. They were severely out-bowled. They weren't just out-bowled by the other by the other opposition spinners, but Washington Sundar came in and also out-bowled them. Is this just a blip, or is this the beginning of the end?
Well, I think time will tell. I think the next test match will be more of a reflection. Is this the end of Ashwin and Jadeja? The partnership. That's a red soil pitch, and we've got to see, do they look to bowl a bit slower, like we saw with Santner, or do they go in with bowling it quite quickly and set really defensive field? So, the first day, when Ashwin and Jadeja were bowling, they had long on, long off, back, giving easy singles. And that field set was kind of more of a reflection of the mindset of this Indian team. They were afraid. They were afraid of losing a session rather than thinking, no, the condition is actually suited to us. We know how to play on turning pitches. Let's forget about the Bangalore, result. But I think it was back on their minds. And I think with the way they bowled in that first session, you kind of felt like, actually, it took them maybe 30 overs, a session to work out we need to bowl a bit slower, we need to set a bit more attacking fields, and then they got into the game. And I think that was too long. I think that was far too long. That first session, first day, really kind of gave an insight to New Zealand that actually, if we get India on the back foot, we know that India team is quite weak at the moment.
You say quite weak at the moment. Is this the end of the dominant run that we've seen? I know statistically it is because they've lost the series. But is this the end of that dominant run? And anything we see from now on in is a reset? So has the transition already started in your mind? Or do you think there's a chance that these old guys are just like, no, we're not going out like this. We have one more test against New Zealand where at the very least we're going to give ourselves a World Test Championship chance. And then we're going to go to Australia and we're going to try and get ourselves into that final, even though we've almost played our way out of it.
Well, I think they've got this one test, to regroup and say, guys, is this going to be the end of us, or are we going to play for pride and go out there what the mistakes we've made in the first and the second test match, let's not repeat that again. And I think that's what they've got to do. They, if they're in a similar situation where they, you do lose wickets in clusters at times, but you can't have a bad session where you lose 6 wickets in one session. That cannot happen. And if that happens again, I'm sure the BCCI, Gambhir, and some of the captains, they could be replaced. They could.
You're replacing everyone, you're saying?
Well, I think the captain could be replaced. I think the coach could be replaced if they're not learning from their mistakes in these 2 test matches. But if they show what we know this Indian team are capable of doing and play the cricket that they can in Mumbai, then it will be just a little blip. Okay. But if it's 3-0 by end of this the Mumbai test match, and they keep making the same mistakes, let's say we lose 6 wickets a session, the bowlers go out 5-4 and over, they've got no answer to the reverse sweep, no answer to, how to bowl to, how Mitchell, Santner is going to be bowling, and it's a similar result. I'm telling you right now, Gambhir will be gone, Rohit Sharma will be gone, this will be a complete new setup going to Australia.
You don't want to overreact to a loss. But the first test, I think, could be explained away. This test, I find it very hard to, be on the side of India at all. If they lose a third test, even if the conditions it is neutral, I don't like overreacting and getting rid of Gambhir and getting rid of Rohit and everything else. But at the same time, it is such a big loss, isn't it? And everything else. This is Monty Panesar. We'll be back for the next test here on the Super Over.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.